Kuf Yud Ches Amud Beis. We'll begin at Daf Kuf Yud Ches Amud Aleph, 5 lines from the bottom. Continue on with the incident where Nebuchadnezzar Rosh threw Hanani, Mishael, V'Azar into the Kivshan Eish, and they were saved. Dorshu Rabbi Shimon Ashiloini B'Shal Shehipol Nebuchadnezzar Rosh Hanani, Mishael, V'Azar L'Sar Kivshan Eish, when he threw them into the furnace. Amud Yomi Masechet Pesachim. Yerkama, the Malach, who was the Sar, in charge of the Bard of Hail, he stood before Rabbi Shalom. He said, Rabbi Shalom, let me go down and cool off this furnace, cool off the kitchen, and say, Gabriel said to him, this does not demonstrate the power of Hashem, the full power of Hashem. If you save them, you are the Sar of the Barat. That doesn't show the full greatness of Hashem. Why? Shata Sar Barat. You are the Sar, the minister in charge of Hail. And everybody knows that water can extinguish fire. So this doesn't show to the full extent of the neis that's shloik derech hateva, that's keneged derech hateva. Ela, he said, rather, ani Sar shalesh. And Gabriel said, I am the Sar of the fire. Let me go down and cool off the furnace. Let me cool off the kivshan from inside. And burn it from the outside. So, meaning the people will be burned from the outside. The people that threw Hanani, Mishael, V'Azar into the kivshan age, those people, the Rishonim, will be burnt, and Hanani, Mishael, V'Azar from Bifnim, they'll be saved. So that will show the greater power and glory of the Rabbeinu Shalom, that it's burning. It's a fire, the furnace that's burning from the outside is burning, and yet they're saved. Amr LeKodesh Baruch Hu read. Kodesh Baruch Hu agreed, said read. Pasuk Gabriel v'Amar ve'emes Hashem la'olam. The emes of Hashem is eternal. Meaning, as we learned previously, that Gabriel wanted to save Avram Avinu from the Kivshan Eish, and Hashem promised him that he will have an opportunity in the future, that Avram Avinu was saved by the Rabbeinu Shalom himself, but he promised Gabriel that he will have an opportunity in the future, and this was the kiyum of that haftacha. Rabbi Nazar, he says, he darshans in a different way this pasuk, ve'emes Hashem la'olam. Who said that? That was not by Gabriel. He said, Dagim Shabiyam Amru. He said that this was said by the fish in the sea. Rav Huna. Like Rav Son. Rav Huna, Yisrael, Shabbai Sador, Miktane Amanahim. The Bnei Yisrael, at the time Yetzias Mitzrayim, they didn't have a great Amunah in Hashem. They were from little of Amunah. So they didn't have full Amunah in the Rabbeinu Shalom. It says that they rebelled by Yamsuf. What was the rebellion? That teaches you that Klal Yisrael, that Bnei Yisrael, they rebelled at the time of Yamsuf. And they said, we are going to come over on one side of the Yam. The Mitzrim are going to come from the other side, and they're going to come and chase after us and kill us. So they didn't believe that the Mitzrim would be destroyed, that were really destroyed in the Yam Suf. Amr lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'Sar shel Yam. Rabbeinu Shem said to the Sar of the Yam, Palu Eisel Yabasha. He said, the bodies of the Mitzrim, he said, spit them out and have them land on the dry line, on the shore, so that Bnei Yisrael will see them, and they'll see the dead bodies of the Mitzrim. Amr lafana, Rabbeinu Shalom, klum yeshev shenoisim l'rabba matona v'chayzav v'naitlum imena. So he said, is there a master that gives a present to his servant, and then the master takes it away? And the master is going to take it away from him, meaning that over here, this was to be the food of the fish. And they were supposed to be drowned in the Yam, and therefore the fish were supposed to be able to feed on them. And now you're taking it away, and you're going to now throw it onto the dry land, and they're going to now, this present that you were going to give to them, you're taking it away. Amr Loi, Rabbi Shem said to the Sar, I'll repay you 1.5 times the amount. The amount that you were supposed to get here in the future, I will pay you back 1.5 times that amount. Amr Loi, Rabbi Shalom Yeshevet Shetavez Rabbi, he said, the master can't demand it from the slave cannot demand it from the master. What's the guarantee that I'm going to get it? I can't come and demand it from you. Amr Loi, Rabbi Shem said to Nachal Kishan Yehelo Arav. He said the Nachal Kishan, that the brook of Kishan, will be a guarantor. Miyad Palat Oisan Liabash. So then the sea spit out the dead bodies to the Mitzrayim, to the dry land. And then the Yidden saw that then they saw that the Mitzrayim will Mesal Sfasayam. So then they saw it, and then they had the Amuna, and in the Rebbeinu Shalom for it. So Rashbam explains that when it says Polar Oisal Yabasha, spit them over to the dry land, he explains to the Rashbam, and they were also Zoichet to Kvura. They were spit out on dry land, and they were Zoichet to a burial. What was, on what merit, when what schos were they Zoichet? Because they said, Ki Hashem Nilcham Lahem b'Mitzrayim. And therefore, they were Zoichet to a Kvura, like it says, Natisi Mincha Tivlohem Haaretz. So therefore, they were Zoichet to the Kvura, that, and the Kodesh Baruch was nishba that they would not get the Haaretz would not be punished, that they will bury the bodies, but it was deprived of the Yam. But the Yam had a guarantee from Nachal Kishan that they will get repaid, and 1.5 times. How is that? So the more explains. What is 1.5 times repayment? By the Mitzrayim, it says that the Mitzrayim chased after Yisrael with 600 chosen chariots. Later by the Muhammad of Sisra, it says is Sham Me'ais Recha Barzal. There was 900. So 1.5 times 600 is 900. And as we'll see, that the water, the Yam was Zeicha, that it swallowed up these 900 of Recha Boch. So Recha Barzal. He also, Sisra came with his army, and also Laya, Bedika the Barzal, he came with spears of iron. Kadosh Baruch Hu changed the orbit, and he took out the stars from their orbits. It says they fought from the stars. So it came into Nachisa Kaich Shemaim Alai, when the stars came down upon the stars of fiery burning. Akdiro Hani, they declared the parcel of their iron spears became very hot. Nachisa Lakruya Lamischin Ashab and Nachal Kishan, they went down to cool themselves in Nachal Kishan. Over the Kodesh Baruch Hu Nachal Kishan, Hashem said to Nachal Kishan, Leich Vahashlem, Arvoncha, go and pay back the promise, the pledge. Miyad Gorfa Nachal Kishan V'Shlich L'Yam. So Nachal Kishan came, swept them away into the sea. Shenemar Nachal Kishan Gorfa Nachal Kidumim. Nachal Kishan, the ancient brook, swept them away. So my Nachal Kidumim, what's the drasha on Nachal Kidumim, the ancient brook? Nachal Shanasa Arav Mikenim. It's the Nachal, the brook that is a guarantor Mikenim from earlier times, from the time of Yetzias Mitzrayim. At that time, Paschal Dagim Shal Yam, the fish in the sea, they opened up and they said, V'amru ve'emes Hashem l'olam. They began to speak and they said, Emes Hashem l'olam. So there, this Paschal ve'emes Hashem l'olam was said by the fish that the promise, Emes Hashem is eternal, the promise was kept. Amru Shem ben Lakish, my dechsi, my shivi akeres habayis. What does it mean? It says, my shivi akeres habayis. The Pashup shot in the Pasuk is, Moishivi Akeres Abayis, he transforms the Akeres Abayis, the one that was an Akara, couldn't have children. He's Moishivi, transforms it, and Emabanim Smecha Halaluka, and now she became a mother. But we darshan, he transforms Moishivi Akeres Abayis. We darshan in the manner of Akeres foundation. Amr Kenes Yisrael Lifnei Kodesh Baruch Hu. The Zakainim of Klal Yisrael said before the Rebbeinu Shalom, Samuni v'necha kechulda zu. They disrespect me, your children, Bnei Yisrael disrespect me, and they made me like the achulda weasel, hadara b'kreibatim, that lives amongst the foundations. The weasel is in the foundations of the house. That's where it dwells. Dorish Rava, Maidachsiv Ahavti ki Yishma Hashem. It says Ahavti, that I love when Hashem hears my voice. Amr Kenes Yisrael Rebbeinu Shalom Amos Ani Ahuv Lefanecha. When is it clear that I'm loved by you? Bisman Shetishma Kol Tachnunai. When you listen to my tefillas. Deloisi V'Lei Yeshua. I was poor, I became poor, and you saved me. Amr Kenes Yisrael V'Nei Kodesh Baruch Hu Rebbeinu Shalom Af Al Pi Shadolani the mitzvahs. So the drush is not that I was poor and you saved me and I'm giving praise, but the drush is also, even though I am poor, meaning I'm poor by mitzvahs, but it's still fitting, it's proper for you to save me in the future, because Saif Kol Saif, that Klal Yisrael, we're ma'amin in Hashem. So even though we're poor in mitzvahs, it's still proper fitting for you to answer our tefillas. Amar Rav Kahana, when he became sick, Shalach Lai Rebbe, he said to him, Amor Lanu, Shnayim Ushleisha Dvorim, say over please 2 or 3 things, Shamata Lanu Mishum Avich, that you told us that you had a Kabbalah from your father. Shalach Lai, he sent him, Kach Amar Abba, Mai Dechsiv Halus Hashem Kol Goyim. It says, praise Hashem, all the Goyim, all the nations. Ki Govra Aleinu Chazai. Because his kindness has overwhelmed us. Now, why should the Goyim praise Hashem for the kindness that he did to us? So, Umas Ha'olam, my V'taya, what are the nations praising? The Umas Ha'olam praising for the kindness to Yisrael. So, he darshans as follows. Hachikana. Halus Hashem Gol Goyim. Agvuras V'niflois, David Badai. Praise, the Goyim should praise for the kindness that he did to them. Kol shekain anu the Gavralenu Chaza. And certainly we should praise Hashem for the kindness he does to us, because he overwhelms us with kindness. Void Hari said another drosha, Sira Mitzrayim Shetovi Donal Mashiach. V'achritz hayamim, Mitzrayim will bring presents to Mashiach. Kasov reinu makabel mehem, he'll think not to accept it from them. But Amar Lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mashiach, kabel mehem, accept it. Achsanya also Elobana b'Mitzrayim, because they were hosts. For Bnei Yisrael Mitzrayim were living by them, so they were an Achsanya for them. They did that taiva. Miyad Yasah Hashman Mitzrayim. So immediately, then it said gifts will be brought from Mitzrayim. Yasah Hashmanim, gifts will be brought from Mitzrayim. Then after that, Nasa Kush, Kalvachim Revatzim, Kush made a Kalvachim and said, that they subjugated, they enslaved Israel, and yet their gifts are accepted. Kush said, I didn't enslave them. Look, Holshkain, certainly that the gifts should be accepted from me. He said and accepted from them. Miyad Kush Taras Yadav Lelakim. So immediately, therefore, Kush will quickly hasten its hands to Hashem, to give out his hands to Hashem, to give a present. Nasom Malchus Rami Russia Kalvachim Rabasma. Then Rome, Rami Russia, they made a Kalvachim. And they said, Ma Halalish Einachayim, Mitzrayim and Kush, they're not brothers. And Kach, and yet the gifts were accepted. Anush Anu Achayim. They said, we're brothers. Look, Holshikain, certainly our gifts should be accepted. Amar Lo Kodesh Baruch Hu said, so Amar Lo Kodesh Baruch Hu Gabriel said to Gabriel, Ga'ar Chayas Kana. Gar, start up, rebuke the Chaya Kana, the Chaya which is Kana. So we darshan Ga'ar Chaya Knei L'Cha'eda. Gar Chaya Kana Knei L'Cha'eda. Rebuke the beast, meaning be angrily show anger to Rome, and Kanei L'cha Yisrael, and embrace Yisrael. Davar acher Gor Chayas Kana Shadar Ben Kana. Gor the Chaya Kana. The Chaya that's kana, that lives bein the kana, the reeds, that lives amongst the reeds. Why is Raimi compared to the chaya that lives amongst the reeds? It says the chazir from the forest, they ravage Yisrael, and the ones that crawl in the fields, they feed on them. So Malchus Raimi Arishah, they attack and they ravage Klal Yisrael, and that's why it's called the Chayas Kana, the Chaya that lives amongst the Kanim, and that harms Klal Yisrael. Amar Rav Chiya Amar Rav Yochanan Gaor B'Chaya Shekol Maseh Nachtav B'Kol Masechet. Why is it called Kana? Another pshat is that rebuke the Chaya, the Kana that writes everything with one quill, the same quill. Meaning, whenever there's a judgment and they have with the Yidden, they all collaborate and they plot against it, and they all write the same verdict of guilty, and they're all corrupt, and they write their verdict of guilty all in unison together, because they're totally corrupt. Adas abirim be'egle amim. So we continue darshaning the pasuk. It says that rebuke the bees. The adas abirim, the Ada, the assembly of abirim, the abirim, the valiant ones, be'egle amim, amongst the calves of the nations. So what does that mean? Sheshachtu abirim, again, it refers to Raimi Rishah. They shech the abirim, they shech Yisrael, the valiant ones, ka'agolim she'en labalim, like calves that have no owners. Mizrapetz b'rotze kesef, it opens its hands for bribery. B'rotze kesef for b'shapaisim yadol kabel moment. They open their hands for bribery, but they ain't some ritzayin balim. But they don't fulfill it. Marshall says this is not implicit in the pasuk, but that's what the Gemara is saying. They open their hands for bribery, but l'maisa, the truth is, the Gemara is saying that they don't fulfill their promise, their end of the deal. Pizer amim kroves yechbatzun. He scatters nations that desire kroves. What does that mean? Mi garm lehem Yisrael shis pazul lebeinu mazoilem. What caused the goats? What caused Israel to be scattered amongst the nation? So what was that? That is the krovas, because they desire krovas. Krivois shahayu chafetzim b'hem, because they want friendship with the umois, with the nations. They want to have closeness with them and friendship. That brought about the golus. Va'oid shalach lo, and he sent also the following: shleish me'az v'shishim chamisha shvakim b'krak godol shel Raimi. There were 365 markets in the large city of Rome. And each one of them had 365 towers. And each one of the towers had 365 steps, meaning there are huge, tall towers. And in every step, there was enough food to sustain the entire world. That's how much the wealth, the riches, the food that was there in Rome. Amar Rabbi Shmuel Rebbe. So Rabbi Shimon, the gears over here is Rabbi Shimon, the son of Rebbe, said to Rebbe. So he said, and some say V'amile, and some say that the Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yossi said to Rebbe, Hani Leman, all this, the food and all the sustenance, who's it for? So he said, Lach, Ulachavruch, for you and your Chaver, meaning for the Talmidei Chachomim. Shenemer, it says, Sacha v'esnena k'ish l'Hashem. It says the merchandise, it's referring to the merchandise of the Umois, and esnena, esnan zayna, it's what they pay for zaynas, is k'ish l'Hashem. It will be, in the future, will be for Hashem, Kodesh Hashem, lo ye'etzar v'lo ye'chasen. If it's lo ye'etzar, it will not be stored away, and it will not put into treasures. Lo ye'etzar v'lo ye'chasen, ki l'yoshem lifnei Hashem yeh. It will be designated for those who sit before Hashem. My lo ye'etzar, what is that referring to? Won't be stored. Tani Rav Yosef, lo ye'etzar is a beis haitzar. That's a beis haitzar where they store the food, the granary. It won't be treasures, the Beis Geniza. That's the Beis Geniza treasure house where they have gold and silver. My Kili Yeshim Lifnei Hashem. What does it mean? It will be for those who sit before Hashem. Amar Rabbi Elazar. It means it's for the Masmidim, the person who's in the base medrash and he's there all the time, and he knows where everybody sits because he's a Masmid. He's there in the base medrash all the time. Ikadamra Amar Rabbi Elazar Zeh Makabel Pnei Chaver B'Yeshiva. He said that is one who is Makabel Pnei Chaver B'Yeshiva. He's there in the base medrash early. He will there to greet his friends, his chaverim that come because he's there already from before. He's a great masman. The rest of the pasuk will darshan in his coming Ovid.